Do you want to be irreplaceable? Do you want to be unforgettable at work or in your community or even in your family? Well, I have to be honest with you, it can boil down to something that feels very intimidating, and that's because we're talking about your personal brand. Today, I'm going to share with you surprising lessons I learned from a person that I would have never expected at a recent appearance at Universal Studios Orlando. Welcome to the next 24 hours, where I'm going to give you real information you can really use to transform your life and work one day at a time. I'll be your host, Curtis Zimmerman. Well, I'm very excited to share with you today a little bit about something that happened to me recently and how even when you don't expect it, sometimes things come full circle. Believe it or not, I started out as a mime and a juggler and a fire eater in my career when I was about 12 and a half years old. I worked for years, like 25 years as a performer. I worked on cruise ships as well as amusement parks for 9 years. And here's the funny part is that I used to work at Universal Studios in Hollywood. And recently I was doing my keynote speech at Universal Studios Orlando. And what was crazy about it, it was their global marketing and advertising conference. And what I took away from it, the big takeaway, was actually about branding you, branding yourself. And the thing for me that was crazy about it was when you talk to and you listen to people like Gary Vaynerchuk and these kind of thought leaders today, they talk about that every company is now a media company. And I would take that, even drill it down further and say that every person is a media company because we're all selling and we're all a brand. And the perfect example of that was I was with one of the executives at Universal going into their executive offices because I had spoken there about a year and a half earlier. And one of my takeaways in my keynote is something I say that we're all living the dream, which basically just means that every day try to change a script and say you're living the dream. And why? Because I want you to think about what you're grateful for. So I wove that in the keynote that I did prior, and they actually had an artist come in and then do a painting of living the dream. So he wanted to show that to me while I was there to do this other keynote I was there for. So I was excited about it, and we're walking, and we're about, I don't know, maybe half a block away from getting into the executive offices, and he says, "Get ready." And I said, "Get ready for what?" You know, my keynote was not for hours. And he said, "No, you're about to meet the duck guy." And I was like, okay, the duck guy. I don't know what that's about. And so we get up to the security, and because when you go into the executive offices, you actually then go into the park. So from the offices, you can go, you're kind of backstage, but you can go directly into the park. So there's a whole security system, and you have to have a pass, and you have to meet somebody in order to get in. So it turns out the duck guy is the security guard, and his name is Ben, and he's been there for many years. And he has the most amazing idea about branding, better than a lot of executive people that I meet that do that for a living. And what it is as you go through security, and it literally, I want you to think about when you're at the airport and you have to take your keys out and take your phone out, and it is all of that. And then you have to walk through the little buzzer. If it buzzes, you have to go back and take your belt off or whatever. So it isn't just like somebody standing there checking IDs. You literally have to go through a scanner. And this gentleman has worked there for many years. And as you go through, he kind of like interacts with you and almost interviews you. He talks to you, where are you from? And who are you here to see today? And on and on. And if you're a nice person, or if you bring him a donut, or if you are somebody that he just clicks with, he reaches behind the counter and he has a giant bag of these little rubber ducks. And he'll give you a rubber duck. He'll say, "Hey, you know what? It was great to talk to you today. Here's something for you." And you get a rubber duck. So Dan was telling me this story as we're getting ready to meet with this rubber duck guy, the security guard. And we got up there and we started talking, and Dan introduced me as the keynote speaker, and I did a little coin magic, and sure enough, out of the blue, he just whips out this rubber duck and he presents it, like a magic trick. "Here's your rubber duck." And I took it and I was like, "Oh, cool, thanks." And I put it in my pocket, and we went through, and he was a great guy, and I didn't think much more about it until that evening, we had a kind of an executive dinner type of thing at one of their restaurants on property. And it was really, really nice. And there were a lot of great people there. But one of the top executives in their global marketing at Universal heard that I got a rubber duck. And she was at our table and she was like, I can't believe that you got a rubber duck. I've been here a year and a half and I still don't have a rubber duck. And then other people started chiming in saying, well, I have 3 rubber ducks and I put them up on my shelf in my office. And I mean, what was amazing to me about it and what I want the takeaway for you to be, and like I say, the main reason for this information in this podcast is I want you to have actual takeaways you're going to go back and use in your life. And I can't stress that enough, is that it's great to listen to great content, but how are you going to use that tomorrow, next week, and change behavior to make your life better, to have deeper relationships, to bring something new to your workplace? If this podcast doesn't achieve that, then I wasted my time and you wasted your time, because that is my goal. So the takeaway for me was I'm sitting with some of the most knowledgeable people in marketing and advertising literally on the planet, and they're sitting around talking about the security guard that gives away rubber ducks. And everybody wants to get one, and they display them like they won an Emmy. It's crazy. That's what brings me back to the global marketing all the way down to you as a brand. Now, this gentleman was authentic, which is what every great brand should be. He was very personable. As you walk through, he talked to you, he got to know you. It's what we want every brand to kind of, the reason we wear the Nike swoosh on our shirt is we want to kind of represent that sportsman, that Michael Jordan, so we want to be associated with that. And he did that so well by talking to different people about whatever it is. So as I was standing there were about 10 or 15 people that went through ahead of me, and literally he had a story for every one of them. So how's your daughter preparing for college? So how is your wife and her illness? So, wow, you're looking good today. It looks like you lost 4 more pounds. He had a little dossier on every single person as they walked through. By the way, did I mention he was a security guard? Which, by the way, that's kind of a good thing because he actually knows who's going in and out. And so often I see security guards when I go to the airport and things, and they are literally on their phones looking at Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and they're not even looking at the people going by. Well, he was doing the exact opposite. He was really engaged. And if you think somebody was going to get through there without him knowing it, it was never going to happen, believe me. But the bigger takeaway for me is, when you think about yourself and you think about what you have to give every single day, so often people say, well, I have just a 9-to-5 job and I'm not in a leadership position. I'm not in a place where I can make a difference. He's proving that's a total lie. You're using that as a cop-out not to go out of your comfort zone, not to interact with people, and not to take you as a brand to the next level. So I have another example of that. So I'm at a hotel. I stay at hotels, obviously, a lot. I'm at a hotel. I won't say the brand. None of that matters. But I'm on my way to go to a keynote, and so often I get up in the morning, I grab a cup of coffee, and now a lot of restaurants have these little a lot of hotels have these little restaurants set up. In the morning, you can go and grab food and whatever, but I generally don't do that. I just grab a coffee and maybe some fruit. So that's what I did. I grabbed my coffee and I swung around, I grabbed a banana, and I'm heading toward the door, going through my keynote speech. And on the banana, it's amazing. It says, "You're amazing." And I was like, wow, that's weird. It's like written with a Sharpie, "You're amazing." I was like, wow, I don't know. That's bizarre. So I went back and I really looked at the bowl, and every single banana in the whole bowl had these little sayings: "You're amazing," "Have a great day," "Give 100%," "People love you," all these little sayings. And I was like, wow, that is really cool. And I had to find the person that did that. So I went back behind where the person was getting all the food out. And sure enough, it's this woman there. And I talked to her, and she talks about she's been doing this for over a year. She didn't get permission, but she also wasn't told by management not to do it anymore. And she does it because she wants everyone that's at the hotel to, a lot of times people at hotels are stressed out, they're going through transition, they're there for a presentation, they're maybe on vacation, it's different for everyone. So she says, I put those there to kind of inspire people to go and have an amazing day. And that is exactly what I'm talking about today. That's what I want you to think about. What is the thing you can do and really make a conscious choice so the rubber ducks didn't just magically appear? This guy one day had to be online or somewhere, the dollar store, and see a giant bag of rubber ducks and go, I'm getting them. I'm going to start giving those away. That's kind of, rubber ducks and security guard, that doesn't necessarily go together. And that's what I want you to think of. That's what great brands do. They make you think about themselves and whatever it is they're selling or whatever they're giving away in a different and new way. Can you do that yourself? Can you think about yourself? Think about what you have to give every day, and how can you go into the workplace? How can you go into your life? How can you go to your kid's soccer game? How can you go wherever you are and give something that's unexpected? What is your rubber duck? And when I say that, what is the banana that you're going to write and give inspiration? Now, some people will say, well, I'm going to do that because I'm going to start doing something on LinkedIn. I'm going to start sending out content to people. I'm going to start sharing my ideas, things I see. That's great. Other people are going to say, well, I'm literally going to take a giant bowl and I'm going to fill it with hard candy or chocolate. And I'm going to go to the elevator on the first floor, and I'm going to put a little pedestal there, and I'm going to set it there, and I'm going to get in the elevator and go to work. And I'm going to set that there, and nobody's going to know who put it there. But that's going to be my rubber duck. That's going to be what I give away each day to make people's day. Or, every Monday, I'm going to be the donut person. Every Monday when people come in, there's going to be a big box of mixed donuts, and anybody that wants one, it's going to be in the break room, it's going to be at the main receptionist lounge, whatever it is, and everyone knows on Monday there's donuts. That seems like nothing big, but it's leaning into you as a brand, and you are truly a brand. Everything you say, everything you do, every interaction you have, you're making a brand statement. And I have blogs about it, and we're doing this podcast about it because it's so important that you truly understand that. And it doesn't mean you need to be a certain weight. It doesn't mean you need to dress a certain way. It doesn't mean you need to any of that. That's all made up. Every single person needs to be 100% authentic themselves. That's the perfect brand. If you're all you all the time, that's what I'm looking for. Lean into who you really are. And I want you to think about some takeaways from this podcast. What are you going to do in the next 24 hours to go and actually actualize this content, to go and actually change in the real world? Because if you don't change behavior, you listen to it, and you think, oh, that's a good idea, but you don't apply it. I talk a lot about, knowledge is power. That's a lie. Knowledge applied is powerful. Knowledge for knowledge's sake is called trivia. All right, so in the next 24 hours, I want you to think about what it's going to feel like to be unforgettable. Remember, this guy had ducks. It made him unforgettable. What's your duck? Picture what it's going to be, go and get it in the next 24 hours, and then give away at least 5 of them. It doesn't have to be expensive. I don't care if you go buy lollipops. A great story is little boy received a bunch of balloons for his birthday, and he was so excited. And then the dad says, yeah, well, you know what? Now we're going to take some of these balloons, and we're going to go to the old folks' home down the street, and you're going to hand those out, and you're going to see what that feels like. And it was so much more enriching than just receiving. So go and think about your personal brand, be unforgettable, and you'll give it away at least 5 in the next 24 hours. Hey, thank you for listening to the next 24 hours. It would mean a lot to me if you found this content today valuable, that you share it with your friends. Leave me a review. I'd love to hear from you. And if you want to learn more about what I do, it's really simple. Just go to curtiszimmerman.com. Remember, in order to live the dream, you have to make the next 24 hours count. The clock is ticking.